Gabriel is emerging as not only one of Arsenal's best players, but as a real leader in this group. I've loved Gabriel from the day he walked in. I think he's been brilliant for Arsenal, always available, always up for the fight, and now he's really emerging as a leader. We've seen him wear the armband a few times, and rightly so. I think a few people speculated, even going back a few years, that he could really develop into a captain for Arsenal. And it's actually been a while since we've said that there's a few players, whether it be Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, whoever, that actually look like captain material of the club, and he is starting to become one of them. But I wanted to do this video, A, because I just love the role that he's developing into, but B, a really good comment that came in from Rucus that I want to go through. This is Rucus1599 in the comments of my last video, says I should do a video on Gabriel and Saliba's new roles, as it seems they're stepping into midfield more often. Now, I thought this was a great comment because there's definitely something interesting going on with their roles, especially since the absence of Zinchenko. Now, I noticed this with Saliba. I noticed, especially in the West Ham game, that Saliba was stepping into midfield. Because of the dynamics of the back four change, it kind of made sense. But I hadn't really noticed it with Gabriel, but I think Rucus might be onto something. Let me break it down. I'm going to start with going through essentially what we've seen in the back four recently, which is that with Zinchenko being unavailable, you've essentially got four centre-backs in White, Saliba, Gabriel and Kivior. Now with that, there's no natural inverter there, and it felt like Kivior was going to just be shoehorned into that role for Zinchenko. It hadn't been working, look at the Fulham defeat, so Ben White comes in and does the role instead. In the West Ham and Burnley game, we saw him invert a lot, and that meant that the dynamics of the centre-back partnership shift. Saliba suddenly, from playing centre-back in a back three and build-up, he's having to move all the way out to right centre-back because Ben White's inverted, and then Gabriel slot into centre-back, and Kivior is the left centre-back in that role. And that's a new role for Gabriel because suddenly you're not defending wide spaces, you're not having to defend a lot more centrally, and it's harder work, right? I mean, yeah, you've got protection either side, but you're not just outside the channels to defend. You've got to actually command the back three from a central position when we're in possession. That's a big role. But the other thing we've seen is that because Ben White isn't a total and utter inverting fullback, he does overlap, he does hug width, and he does build out from a back three as well. That centre back, or that sort of hole in midfield, is sometimes taken up by a centre back and William Saliba stepping up. But is Gabriel doing the same? I hadn't personally noticed it. I'm being totally honest. Had with Saliba, not with Gabriel. But if you have a look at some of these average positions in heat maps, there might be something to it. I've got the three here, but if we just start with West Ham, we see that Gabriel, the highlighted player, is the deepest of the back three, more central between him and Saliba, but also you see his heat map, he is deeper and playing in that sort of in his own half essentially. You go to Burnley, very similar, quite central, but as you can see with Ben White in both of these, he's actually quite in line with William Saliba and high up the pitch. And then if you go to Newcastle, Ben White's position is different. He's wider and actually, you know, slightly more in a traditional right back position, but Gabriel's heat map, rather than being deep in that kind of, you know, basically in his own half, it's a lot more in the attacking half, and he's actually higher up the pitch than Saliba as well. So maybe Rucus is onto something. Maybe there is something there. Gabriel is stepping into midfield a little bit more. I'll look out for it. Certainly noticed it with Saliba. There's no doubt the dynamics of those, you know, back four and their individual roles is changing a little bit more with the absence of Zinchenko, but I think it's worked really nicely, and I think we've had a really nice balance to it. Now, he's been playing brilliantly, Gabriel. I'm not one to go through SofaScore ratings normally, but it's kind of the only way for me to show you how brilliant he's been. Just look at some of his ratings, because when I went through FBref numbers, there's actually not a lot there. A defender that plays in a proactive team that's got a lot of the ball, their defensive stats aren't going to be that brilliant. But what does highlight how brilliant Arsenal have been defensively, and he's been a major part of it, is you look at the fact that Arsenal are in a title race with Liverpool, City, and of course themselves, have the, you know, best have the best goal difference, but also have the best goals allowed or goals conceded record in the title race. Well, it's not just in the title race, it's in the whole league. Arsenal's defence has been the best in the league, and it's really come to fruition in 2024 when you look at this graphic from The Athletic. As you can see, Arsenal allowing less than 2 XG in all Premier League games in 2024, where we've gone 6 for 6, winning all of them. As you can see, Man City, with the next best defence, have still allowed 6.8. So it just shows you that Arsenal's defence has been absolutely immaculate in 2024. Yes, we lost in the FA Cup. Yes, we lost at Porto, and those were frustrating. In the Premier League, Arsenal have been utterly immense in defence, and you can see that in those numbers there. Let's talk a little bit more about Gabriel and the journey he's had, because here are some of his centre-back partnerships, from David Luiz, who actually thought we played quite well with him, to Rob Holding, Mustafi, Ben White, Tomiyasu, Kivior and Saliba. Now, the only real partners he's had there are probably David Luiz and Holding in his early years, Ben White for a whole season, and then William Saliba. But he's had to play with a lot of different players, but he has always been the regular, apart from his first season or two where he had to, mainly his first season, we had to fight out with Pablo Mari, should I say. He's always been a regular, but he's had to play with lots of different partners, and partnerships are crucial in defences. So for him to have played so well with lots of different players around him is really testament and credit to him. I was actually about to say that that's not just a centre-back thing. That's actually with Zinchenko, sometimes as an inverted fullback, so he's had to cover for him. With Tavares bombing up and down the pitch, Kieran Tierney too. So he had to play with a lot of different players around him, Gabriel. And in this time, and in this journey, playing with all these different players, he's eventually ended up wearing the captain's armband. Now, I think we did see it once last season, but this is what a lot of this video is about. It's about him emerging as a leader, wearing that armband, and becoming one of the key figures at Arsenal, which I thoroughly believe he is in terms of a quality of player perspective. But can he be as a leader? I think he absolutely can be for some of these key reasons. Firstly, his availability. It's absolutely immaculate. I mean, you go to his first season where he was only unavailable for 5 games. He played 23 of them, and like I said, he was battling with Pablo Mari for that place in the team. To the season after, where he missed the first 3 games to injury and then played all 35 games after that. Is an incredible return from Gabriel in terms of availability, playing all 35 in a row in the Premier League and then playing all 38 the season after, not missing and not being unavailable for a single one. Unbelievable availability for Gabriel. Now, this season, he's played all 24. He's played in 24, so he has missed 2 or come off the bench, should I say, for 2 of them. He's not been unavailable for any, but there was some background stuff that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But again, largely totally available from a fitness perspective. Gabriel has always been someone that Arteta can call upon, and that availability is crucial, I think, not just for a centre-back in a team challenging for the title, but a leader and a captain as well. A couple other things that are really making him emerge as a leader and someone that is coming forward as like a key figure at Arsenal. He's speaking English in interviews and doing interviews on TNT, which is fantastic. I think when he arrived, he didn't speak English, if I'm not mistaken. I think for a few years now he has. But again, tackling interviews, doing the TNT Sports and all that after wins, that's big, and you want to hear from the leaders in the team. He's certainly one of them. And the fact that he's got a new chant as well, which, by the way, I think is a really good chant the Arsenal fans have come up with. And he says he loves it. He loves that he's got his own chant, and it's a recognition of his work. And those are the kind of things that make you really, really connect to players. I mean, look, all the best players at Arsenal have had chants, and they bridge, I think, that gap between fans and players, that connection. It's a very personal way of saying, we're behind you and we love you. And I think to have that, he always had the love from the Arsenal fans, but that little bit more certainly helps. A couple more things to talk about. Firstly, if some of you are thinking, oh, well done, James, you're a bit late, you're on the Gabriel hype train now, absolutely not. I've been saying this for well over 2.5 years, and I have evidence. Let me take you back to October 2021, where I said this in an AFTV fan cam, that Gabriel is one of the best centre-backs in the league. He was immense in that game. He had been immense for a while. He's gone on to continue being immense. He has been consistent for over 2 years now in this Arsenal team, and I've been saying it since then, so don't think that I'm just on the hype train. A couple more bits I want to touch on. Is he Arsenal's player of the season, and is he Arteta's pound for pound best signing? These are the questions I'm going to ask. In terms of the player of the season, let me know in the comment section below. I think Saka and Declan Rice are in there. Probably Declan Rice and Gabriel the standout. Saliba had been immense, but maybe hasn't been as great recently, though the defensive record of the team wouldn't tell you that. Odegaard has really come to the party in the last few months, and Bukayo Saka's on great form now. So I feel like those will be the players in the conversation towards the end of the season. But I think Gabriel's got a really good shout with Declan Rice. And is he Arteta's pound for pound best ever signing? You know, at £27 million, always available, been there for 4 years. I think with Odegaard in there as well, at 35 million, certainly one of them. I talked about this in my last video. Go check that out if you want. But I think there's a good chance Gabriel is pound for pound. And that means, for what you pay to what you're getting, I think Gabriel might be Arteta's best ever. Now, the last things I do want to say on all this is that it's not always gone swimmingly for Gabriel. This might be something that people forget. He nearly left in the summer. Or when I say nearly left, I mean, he had to essentially be convinced to stay, I think, is essentially the situation. That there were other offers and he was contemplating them, and Mikel Arteta had to speak to him. I think he said as much himself, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But like I said, that's why he wasn't playing early in the season. We've had that cleared up now. But the other thing is that he had to deal with the robbery back in 2021 as well, so it's not always been easy. That's a very traumatic thing to overcome, and he had to do that, protect his family, and from what I missed, didn't miss any football, came back to it, and it looked like it never really affected him. So he's a real warrior. He's mentally, psychologically steely as hell. He is one of our best players. He's playing in brilliant form, and he's always up for the fight, and he feels like someone who's really relishing this title race. So those are the questions I'm asking. Let me know in the comment section below. Is he our player of the season? Is he Arteta's pound for pound best ever signing? And is he a future captain of this club? Because I think he certainly is. And I just want to say a really big thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, actually hit the links right here to watch more content like this, including my Football First podcast, which drops every Monday to Friday at 6 AM. And I know it's annoying, I am really sorry to have to ask, but if you want to show support to the channel, hitting the like and subscribe buttons help promote the content much more than you could possibly know. Thanks again.